they've been hustling, right? And they've gotten to a point where they are just also very overwhelmed because they've been trying to do too much. Typically, they've been trying to do too much on their own. So there's so many different ways that you can approach it based on the type of business that you're in. And it always comes down to one thing, which is simplifying.
ADHD Rewired, episode 557. Since 2014, this has been the podcast for ADHD adults who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. I'm Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training and a coach by design. I'm your host, and I'm ADHD. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. You can learn about our coaching and accountability groups, our virtual co-working community, and more, all at ADHDrewired.com. We are wired for connection, and you are not alone. Learn more about our offerings, including our quarterly live Q&As. Get additional resources for every episode, including links to any resources we mentioned on today's show. You can support us on Patreon, sign up for our email newsletter, and more, all at ADHDrewired.com. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Don't forget to hit subscribe or follow on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. We know that starting is the hardest part, so let's get started. Before we get started today, registration is open for our fall season of ADHD Rewired's coaching and accountability groups. Join our next live registration event on Thursday, October 3rd at 12 p.m. Central to save $200, because after that, our final event is October 9th and the price goes up. Start your pre-registration now at coachingrewired.com. Get your name on our interest list. That's coachingrewired.com. All right, on with the episode. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. Today's guest is Stephanie Blake. Stephanie is a business coach and CEO of the Simple Business School and Simple Business Suites. And we're going to be talking today about how to not just run a business when you have ADHD, but how to do it in 20 hours or less.
Yep.
Was my skepticism on that too palpable? I was like, wait, what?
It was. But you're not the only one who says that.
All right. So let's just literally dive right in. So, your quick story, your mom, you have 2 kids. They were diagnosed with ADHD, and then you were diagnosed with ADHD when you were 33.
Yeah. So I thought my oldest had ADHD. So then that's when I went down. He's 5 now. So that's when I went down the ADHD rabbit hole thinking, okay, does he have it? And I was reading through all of these articles and I was like, oh no, I have this. He might have it, but I really have this. So then that was when I went in and got a formal diagnosis. And from the minute I walked in and I started talking to the physician, she was like, you're here for ADHD, aren't you? She's like, we don't even really need to do a test because I can already tell that you. It's like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Interesting. Okay. So it was more of like, it's clear as day, but let's just do this just for the verification.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So how is your ADHD showing up?
I mean, well, now I'm medicated, full disclosure. So since I started taking medication, it's been about a year and a half. It completely changed my life.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I was functioning prior to that, honestly, because now it's like, it's just, my life is completely different. But prior to that, it was just getting incredibly overwhelmed by the smallest thing. That was, I would say, where it would show up the most. So if I would walk downstairs and see clutter all over the floor from my kids, like they were just playing with toys and being kids, I would just lose my shit and freak out on everybody because I was just so overwhelmed by not only the clutter on the floor, so it's like sensory overload, but then also the noises. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
So I think I actually have ADHD, the autism thrown in there. I haven't been formally diagnosed, so I think there may be some crossover with sensory.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Not formally diagnosed, but over this last year, I've really been exploring that very seriously. And it's like the red car effect. Like when you get a red car, now you see all the red cars. Now that I've seen certain things in certain ways and things show up for me, I'm like, oh, it just seems so clear that I have the part of ADHD as well. You mentioned the sensory stuff, especially the noise. That's a huge one for me. It really is.
It's so bad. I have, these are on my desk right now, these little flare earplugs. I don't know if you've seen these before, but I wear these all day long. If you could say, I say flare, but they're these little, I can pull them out so you can see, nobody listening can see what I'm doing, but they're called flare. there's little earplugs. So like there's
Okay.
these tiny little silicone things and you put them in your ear and you can hear everything, but it stops the loud
Mm,
sounds, like the really jarring
yeah.
sounds. And I have a 1.5-year-old that loves to scream for no reason. So
I have a 13-year-old that
I
loves
mean,
to scream for no reason. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
they're great for that. And my husband is wearing them now, and my youngest, they have them for kids too. So yeah, it's great.
Wow. Okay. So you run two companies and your businesses, you help people basically run online businesses.
Yeah, I help them run online businesses, but simplify them. That's my whole thing. Make it really simple so you don't overwork and you don't overcomplicate it. 'Cause
What
that's a
are
big thing I see people doing.
what are some of the common things that you see with people in how they overcomplicate things? And I know like every business is different, but I'm sure there's some sort of patterns that you see that are fairly common.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest one is just trying to do too much. So it's kind of dependent based on the stage of business that you're in. So when you're first getting started in business, everybody is so excited. They think that this is the thing that's going to change their life. But then they very quickly realize that they don't know what they're doing. So then they have to learn all of these different things that go into running a business, from anything from marketing to potentially hiring to just figuring out what you're going to sell and how to price the thing that you want to sell. There's so many different things that go into it. So that first really like beginning stage, that foundational stage of business is very overwhelming for so many people because they don't know what they're doing. But then there's also those people who have been in business for a longer period of time and they've been hustling, right? And they've gotten to a point where they are just also very overwhelmed because they've been trying to do too much. Typically, they've been trying to do too much on their own. So there's so many different ways that you can approach it based on the type of business that you're in. And it always comes down to one thing, which is simplifying. Simplifying what you're selling and simplifying the back end of your business too. So instead of trying to sell 5 different things, sell one thing. Really dial that thing in. And then once it's dialed in, once you're making money from it, once you're not overworking, then we can add on other things, right? Same with the tech in the back end. You don't need to have 20 different tools pieced together, right? Like that's why I created the Simple Business Suite, because you could have it all in one place and it can all be set up very simply. But again, these are things that people try to overcomplicate because they think they need to have the best of the best. I mean, again, there's so many different things, but that's really where that overcomplication comes in.
As far as the tools go, you mentioned that the Simple Business Suite. So is that like software that you've developed?
Yeah.
Because that's, for people who are trying to do online business, there's definitely a bit of a piecemeal duct taping all the multiple Google Suite tools together with some other things. So like, what does yours look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an all-in-one system where it can host your CRM, your website, your products, your e-commerce shop, your social media planning, right? Like your web chatbots, right? There's so many different features that it encompasses. But the cool thing about ours is that we customize it to each user based on what they need. So for example, if you don't need an e-commerce shop, you would not even see that in your account because the whole thing is about simplifying. So you're not getting distracted by all of these different features in your account. And that's where I see a lot of people getting stuck because they're getting distracted. There's all of these shiny objects, especially for people with ADHD. We love our shiny objects, right? So when you just kind of completely remove that from the picture, you don't even have that distraction.
So how can someone tell if whether it's your software suite or someone else's, is this the next shiny object or is this actually a viable solution?
I mean, only you can answer that.
Fair.
Honestly,
Fair.
because again, every business is different. Before I created this, I was piecing together all of those different pieces of software. I had a different email marketing tool. My website was in a different place. I had a social media planner and I was just piecing all these things together. And eventually at a point where I was spending over $1,000 a month just on tools. And I was like, this is insane. And on top of that, the different tools, they weren't connecting properly. So things like the automations were breaking in the back end. And that was having a negative effect for the people that I was working with. Like people weren't getting the stuff that they needed.
I had an opposite problem not that long ago with one of my automation where they were getting it, but they were getting it 3 times. And I was like, where is this happening? Like, where is this glitch in my funnel? And I like finally figured it out, but like the amount of testing, trial and error, and just like,
Yeah.
And for a while, I was like literally manually going in and like unsubscribing people from the second and third time they got subscribed to that list. And it's like, why isn't this tool just recognizing that? Why would someone want to be on any list more than once?
Right, exactly. And that was something that has happened to me as well, because I would send emails from multiple places, right? So it was like, okay, I was sending it from Airtable, for example, and then I was also sending it through my email service provider. And like you, I didn't know where these emails were going to come from. So then you have to spend all that time troubleshooting to figure out, what do I even have set
Right.
up, And it gets so overwhelming because then you don't even remember what you set up 4 years ago.
Right. Because if you're not really good at the sort of documenting all of your processes, and as people with ADHD, it's not always our strength. Yeah, it's like if we set something up years ago, I've been trying to use a tool that I've used since I've been in business, and using it again in a couple different ways. And I'm finding like, wait, where is this? Like it'll send like a confirmation email, but has my old address. Like, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh God, like where, I don't even know where to update that. So it's an interesting sort of part of doing online business for as long as I've been doing it. Now, let me ask you. So the idea of having a profitable, sustainable business working 20 hours or less a week, you got to have people, right? I mean, I can't imagine doing it on my own at 20
I
hours a week.
mean, yes and no. I have currently in my business, I have one main team member.
Okay.
I have a virtual assistant, and she helps me about maximum 20 hours a week.
Okay.
So if I didn't have her, then it would probably be 40 hours per
Okay.
week
So,
plus
so you're
for
saying
me.
about half of what you're doing really was like administrative type of work.
Yeah.
So when you're talking with someone who's, because I've kind of gone through these various phases in my business where like I had more work than I could handle for a while, but I was at a place where I couldn't quite afford to hire someone. Then I felt like the different phases of growth that I've been in, I kept kind of going through these phases of like, I need more help, but I can't quite afford it yet, but I also can't afford to not do it. And right now, people who have listened to, we're recording this at the very end of August 2024. And my business here has been struggling a bit. And it's like right now, I don't have any administrative help at all. And I'm just trying to respond to the market. I have not been putting out a lot of podcast episodes as of lately. And I would love to get back to getting weekly episodes out. What I'm doing right now, this is the part of podcasting I love, having these conversations. Everything after we stop recording, I don't want to touch it. I want somebody else to take care of it.
I'm the same way.
I had as we're recording this, last week's episode that came out was with Mattia Murray, and she volunteered to edit that episode because she also does a podcast, and she knew that I was kind of struggling with my time. And just putting my ads in there to promote our coaching groups, and if you count the procrastination hours I spent on it, not doing it, it took me all week to get that episode out. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this is just so draining to me. And it's like trying to figure out, okay, I have to be careful about my expenses in the business. And I also need to be careful about my energy levels. It's this weird place that I'm in right now. And I would imagine you're seeing that as well with a lot of clients you're working with.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely. And there's so many different nuances to what you shared. And there's the piece where, okay, you can get rid of a lot of the things that are on your plate, right? There's probably a lot of different pieces that don't even need to be done. There are a lot of different things in your business that you can just either like get rid of right now or just put on pause, right? Also, there's probably automations that can be set up to take care of a lot of different elements. And that's the part that people always want to do. They're like, I want to automate all of the things, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Or they don't know what to automate, right? That's a big piece for people who come to me. They're like, okay, I know that I can do less. I know that I can get rid of things. I know I can automate them, but I don't even know what I can automate. I don't even know how to set up those automations, right? And then really the third piece of it is letting go. And we were talking about this offline or off air a little bit. And I was saying, I don't even edit my podcast episodes because I don't care. It's like, you resonate with me. You resonate with the people I bring on the show. You listen to it or you don't. And that's just part of the mentality that I've had to create and accept for myself, because I was stuck in those feelings of everything needing to be perfect. If it wasn't perfect, then people wouldn't like me. And I was just going down this whole trauma spiral.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a lot of, for me personally and the people that I work with, there's a lot of like inner work healing that needs to be done in order to get to the place where they're like, okay, if somebody doesn't want to listen to my podcast because it's unedited, I don't care. you know, but again, that's not something that happens overnight. That takes time.
Yeah, and part of why I've been sharing, where I'm at with my business, on the podcast, it's like, to me, like, I think of vulnerability is like my love language. And it's like, if I'm not going to be like real and authentic, because here's the thing, like, I've been talking to so many different ADHD coaches over the last year. And what people aren't talking about, well, you go online, you won't see this. People are struggling in this industry right now. Like, people
Yeah.
who are good at what they do are struggling to actually have their business be profitable because like there's so much saturation currently in the market. And so like I've been trying to like do some pivoting and figure out and sort of even just like taking a little bit of a step back to allow for clarity of mind, which I find to be really helpful when you're like in it all the time and there's so many moving parts to it. It's hard, sometimes hard to take that perspective. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
you talked about automation as a way to sort of create time freedom in your business. What are some of the things that people can start with when it comes to automation?
Yeah. Can we go back to what you were talking about with authenticity?
Sure, absolutely.
You're cool with that? Yeah, because that was, again, one of the things that I really struggled with for a long time was just being my true self, being
Yeah.
authentic. And I noticed that as soon as I started doing that and I just started to like not really give a shit, people really resonated with that because I feel like so many people are so buttoned up and they're trying to be so professional that when they can see the real person behind the scenes, they're going to connect with that so much more clearly. That doesn't even make sense. They're going to connect
I got
with
it.
that so much more than somebody who they think is fake, right? Like you can tell, So, I mean, that would be my big piece of advice to anybody listening is to be okay with being you.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so cheesy, but truthfully, like that's where that connection piece is going to propel you to the next level of whatever you want because people resonate with that more because everybody's struggling in some way.
Yeah.
Whether they have a
Absolutely.
business or not. Somebody is struggling listening to this right now.
Absolutely.
So,
No, it's true.
yeah.
Because if you're, especially if you're thinking of scaling a business, you don't want to scale something that's not really authentically you, because that's just going to create more inauthentic versions of you, which is not going to help you at
Exactly.
all if you have ADHD, especially.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If it's not working right now, the last thing that you want to do is scale it. I tell it to people who are they want to run ads for their business. I'm like, okay, well, I created this new offer. I'm ready to get people into it. I said, okay, well, have you actually tested this offer? Like, do you know if people actually want to buy this thing before you start running ads to it? Because
Yeah.
you can't fix something that's broken, right?
Yeah.
You need to test it. You need to make sure it's working. And when it comes to marketing, especially being your true authentic self, whether that's on a podcast, whether that's through email marketing, through social media, that will always be so much more well received than you just acting buttoned up and polished and wearing a mask, frankly.
Yeah. Because that wearing a mask, we could do it at times, but it's exhausting after a while, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for whoever you're serving. It's not good for you.
Right. And frankly, that's where a lot of people's time is going, is like spending all of that time and energy trying to do things to keep that mask on. So for example, instead of just typing up an email in 10 minutes and sending it out, they're taking 3 days to make sure that email is perfect and making all of these tweaks and changes to it when it could have just taken you 15 minutes. But now it's taken you 3 days,
Well, I got to tell you, thank God for ChatGPT, because that has been my writing process like exponentially faster. It's a great writing partner, because you get to kind of go back and forth with it, and there's no like fear of any judgment because it's a machine,
Exactly.
All right, let's do this.
Exactly.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk tools and where people can focus on with automation. So we will be right back. If you're listening to this episode, you might be thinking about how to automate the right things in your business or in your life. But here's the thing about ADHD. Even the most beautifully automated system can become invisible once your brain gets used to seeing it. That's visual satiation. Your brain sees the same task list, calendar, or sticky note so often, it literally stops noticing it. It's like when you repeat a word until it doesn't really sound real anymore, except now it's your entire system. And that's where ADHD reWired's coaching and accountability groups come in. Our next live registration event is Friday, October 3rd at 12 p.m. Central. And if you register then, you can still save $200. After that, our late registration pricing kicks in on Thursday, October 9th at 10 a.m. Central, or You can schedule a one-on-one registration call with me once you've completed your pre-registration. More pricing information is on the website at coachingrewired.com. We also have 3 and 6 month payment plans, so you can pick what works best for your budget. If your systems have stopped working for you, let's build new ones together. Start your pre-registration today at coachingrewired.com. It takes 20 to 30 minutes to get started. If you've been wondering what group coaching and the power of community and accountability could do for you, don't wait. You can join by going now to coachingrewired.com to add your name to our fall interest list. If you're new to the podcast, I'm so glad you're here because I want you to hear right now what listeners just like you said after being a part of our coaching groups.
Being a part of this group has been a life-changing, life-soothing experience. I feel like if I'd had this group 20 years ago, I can't imagine how much better my life could be now. But I'm really excited to continue to work this process going forward.
So a lot of people are saying that they wish they had found this 20 years ago. And I'm saying I wish I had found it 50 years ago. But as someone who's turning 70 this year, I want to talk to older people who are listening to this and say, it's never too late. I am so glad that at this time in my life, I am still doing this. One thing I would like to say was Eric keeps asking about, have you accepted your ADHD? And I've always answered yes. I mean, I've accepted it for 25 years now, but I accepted it as a diagnosis of defeat. And what I see now is I see it differently. I see there's hope.
I came into this course with high expectations of what I was going to learn about ADHD and what I've learned about ADHD and the community of people who share these symptoms. What I've learned and what I've taken forward with me has greatly exceeded my expectations.
This book is like a secret weapon. I just feel like it's the tool in my arsenal. And I definitely, anybody that's struggling with something similar, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a missing link.
So I would encourage anyone who's at the beginning, who doesn't feel like they have their tools dialed in or who doesn't know what we mean when we say, a to-do list, get on the group, do it now.
So I decided to join because I was trying to do this by myself and it just wasn't working. In 20 plus years, I read the things, I listened to every podcast, I had all the tools, and still I was losing jobs. Always stressed. The guilt and disappointment were just ruining my life. And I had to admit to myself that I just couldn't do it alone.
So if you're thinking about doing this group, go for it. Check out the podcasts, talk to Eric or talk to people who are available. This is the place if you have ADHD to be.
If you're thinking about joining, please do. Please do. Like a lot of people said, I wish I had joined sooner or made this step sooner because I just feel like I grew a lot personally in ways I didn't expect. It's so heartwarming and like soul fulfilling. It just feels incredible. It feels amazing.
Take the first step. Go to coachingrewired.com, add your name to our interest list, and watch your email. And if you are intending on doing it but can't do it right now, pause this audio and set yourself a reminder. You go to coachingrewired.com. That's coachingrewired.com. Support for this podcast also comes from Adult Study Hall, ADHD Rewired's virtual co-working community. You can join us in our always-on quiet co-working room that we call ASH 24/7. ASH is Adult Study Hall, or one of our many themed or facilitated sessions throughout the week. Go to adultstudyhall.com to learn more. It is free to try for the first week and $19.99 a month after that, or $150 for the year, which saves you, I think, like 40-something%. It'll show you on the website when you're there. So that's at adultstudyhall.com. You can also support us on Patreon. If you like the work that we are doing, consider giving a few bucks at patreon.com/ADHD Rewired. Contributors at $25 a month can join me once a month for a group coaching call that we do just about every fourth Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. Central. All right. That's all for the ads. And now let's get back to talking about automation, where I'm about to ask Stephanie about what tools she likes. All right, we are back with Stephanie Blake. All right, Stephanie, let's talk automation tools. So people, and I hear this all the time too, like, I want to automate this and that. Where do I start? Where do you think people should
Yeah.
start?
Yeah. So, I mean, first you have to have an offer that is selling, right? So that offer could vary greatly. It could be one-on-one coaching. It could be a group program. It could be a membership. It could be an e-commerce store, right? So first we need to have something that is selling, because again, the last thing that we want to do is automate something, because if it breaks, then it's going to break 10 times over. So when it comes to automation, we want to start slow and then ramp things up. So let's just use one-on-one coaching as an example. That's really the easiest thing, lowest hanging fruit. So when you are working with somebody on a one-on-one basis, you can automate essentially all parts of that application to payment process. So for example, if you have somebody filling out an application, okay, you can have them fill that out on your website. Then it can automatically send you an email letting you know that this person applied. Okay, then you can go into your CRM and you can move that person from the stage of applied to approve. And then from there, once you move them to that stage, guess what? It can send them an automated email saying, hey, I can't wait to work with you. Here's the link to pay me. Okay. And then guess what? That process is also automated. So once they complete that payment, you can send a follow-up email with the details to book their call, right? So every single piece is automated, with the exception maybe of you deciding whether or not you want to work with that person, right? It's very dependent on the type of business that you have and the type of offer. But for most online businesses, I mean, this is a very rough number, but I would say 70% of your business can actually be automated. But a lot of people just want to have their hands in everything, because that's where the control piece comes in.
And it's what I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned this, the only thing you have to really do is decide if you want to work with that client. And so part of this is deciding where are you okay with letting go of, and where can you, like the scheduling tool that I've used for well over a decade. I think it was called Schedule Once. Now it's something called Once Hub. The way the settings are, you can either have it where someone can like ask for 3 different things, and then you have to like respond to approve one of those, or they pick the date that's available and it just gets scheduled. And when I first started using it, I was doing you pick 3 and then I'll respond, but I wasn't responding. And so that wasn't working. So I decided, I'm going to sort of go on the opt-out approach. I'm going to let them schedule it. And if I realize that doesn't work, then I will reach out and say, hey, actually, I need to schedule a different time. So it's sort of like that letting go and being okay, if it doesn't work, that's okay. I could then take action to reschedule something.
Right, exactly. Even as you go through the onboarding process with your clients, I used to do system setups and onboarding. I would create the processes and then I would set all the tech up. Now, what the big thing that people would say to me is like, I don't want every piece to be automated because I don't want it to feel like a robot. Okay, great. Well, there's a lot of touch points that we can add in there to make it feel like a human is contacting them. Or you can add in a mix of manual and automatic activities. So if you really want to send an email, you don't want the robot to send the email, guess what? We can add in a step in your automation to create a task in your project management tool that says, hey, send an email to John Doe, letting them know that they can book a call or whatever.
That in-between space between manual and automated, I look at it as templates, right? Because like you can take the time to like have your voice, to have the what you're really trying to get across, and have the room for customization and personalization. I do that with a lot of my communications with people. It's like, I don't need to reinvent this wheel all the time. Like, start off the conversation in it with a template that you have a little bit of personalization with, and then let the conversation go where it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I work with people, I have a template and then I explain why I'm so excited to work with them. Here's what we're going to do during our time together, because it's going to be different based on what you're doing with each person, right? So that is where you can add in those manual touch points, but automation doesn't have to be scary. That's another big thing that people are really afraid of, because they're afraid that all of these random automations are just going to be running. Emails are going to be sent out randomly and they have no control over it. When it's set up correctly, that's not what happens at all.
I was thinking about this idea of like, when we get our automation set up and it's working well, it's going to work well for a period of time. And, as time passes, things may change. what do you recommend or what do you do for sort of maintenance around automation?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say is automation is tech and tech breaks. That's inevitable.
Yep.
Right. So that is something that you need to be okay with, because the chances of it breaking are much less than the time you're saving using those automations. I hope I phrased that properly. But you are getting so much more benefit from using these automations versus the 1% chance that something's going to break. So I did want to say that. But in terms of maintenance, again, this is why it's so important to keep everything in your business really simple, because the more offers that you're trying to sell, the more automations you're going to have, the more sales pages that you're going to need, right? So when you start to compound all of these different offers that you're selling, that compounds everything else in the back end. So that's why I always say, get to a point where you're comfortable with the amount of money that you're making and the amount of time that you're working. And then you can start to add more on, because at that point, you will likely have the space to bring in other people to support you, right? So once we're at that point, when it comes to the maintenance for the different automations, there really shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that complicated, because you have your one offer. You ideally have like a flow chart or something with the process. So it's like somebody comes in through this route, then they go to your email, then they go to this, right? So that would be my recommendation to do if you have not done yet. Just have a general overview of how your offer is working in the back end, so that you know if something does break, okay, this is where it broke. Like if John is getting 4 emails, I know that because I set it up in this tool, that's where I have to go to fix that. So then that's where you can just set reminders, maybe like once every 6 months, to go in and check and make sure everything's working properly. But 9 times out of 10, if something's not working, somebody's going to tell you. That's kind of the point where I'm at now. It's like, if an automation breaks, one of my members is going to reach out and tell me, and then I'll go fix it.
Yeah. That was actually how I discovered that I was for a certain part of my list, they were getting like triplicate of certain emails because they let me know.
Exactly. And honestly, that's the way that I prefer to do it. And if somebody gets upset or angry about it, like, that's just not your person, and they can go.
Like, did you see the unsubscribe button? Go ahead and click it.
Exactly.
So with a lot of online businesses, the email marketing, the idea of having all this sort of like evergreen automation content. So, I think on my primary email list, I think I probably have 30 some emails that get trickled out over a period of time. How would you recommend because you have to imagine that, like, every once in a while I'll come across one of my emails because someone responds to it and I'm like, oh my God, I made that so long ago. Like, how often do you think is necessary to review what you actually are sending out there if it's automated, and potentially update if need be?
Yeah. So that also kind of depends on your business and your business model. So I've gone through so many different phases with email automation at this point. When I first started, for the first couple of years, I just had all of my emails automated. So you would just bounce from one email sequence to the next. Like, they would finish one, they would go to the next one, right? But one thing that I realized is, at that time in my business, I wanted to move more to launching. So I wanted to do more live launches. I wanted to do live workshops, things like that. And I was finding, when I had that set up with the evergreen emails, like, a lot of people that I wanted to invite to those live launches, they were still going through these evergreen email campaigns. So they weren't even on my list to send my live emails to, right? So that would be the first thing I would say is, what type of business model do you want? Do you want one where you have a lot of evergreen stuff happening in the background, which is great? Do that. Or do you want one that incorporates both? Or do you want one where you're just doing a lot of live launches? So that would be the first thing to ask yourself. And if you want a combination of both, that's what I have, then I would make sure that all of your emails are aligned to that one offer that you're selling, because again, we don't want random emails going out with old offers that we're not even selling anymore. So I would revisit once every 6 months, and just to make sure that not only the content in the emails is accurate, but the strategy is aligned with the greater strategy of your business. Especially in the last couple of years, so many people have had to pivot their business strategies because of the economy. So you need to make sure that the automations, and especially when it comes to emails, because those are forward facing, those emails are still aligned with your larger business goals and your larger business strategy.
Other than your business suite, if there were like 3 to 5 like sort of tools that people who are wanting to get into online business may want to explore, what tools would you say are worth a look?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love ClickUp. We use for project management. I've been using it forever. I love that.
You like
And
it
that's
better
really
than
the main.
Asana?
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
do.
okay. Quick question on ClickUp. This is just my own question. So I've used Asana on and off for quite some time. I have not been using it as of lately. One of the things I don't like about it is if I like have a quick thing that, if I'm in my car, I want to be able to like just use my phone reminders app that's, remind me, blah, blah, blah. There's no like quick way to add something to Asana like on the phone. Like you have to go into too many menus, too many clicks, and like that is not user friendly. How is ClickUp?
It's amazing. And that is the only way I function because, well, I have a million reminders on my phone. Just let's be real. I need reminders for everything.
Yeah.
But in terms of ClickUp, here, I'll show you. I'll just pull it up on my phone right now. So nobody listening can see this. But if I were to just go in, so this is just like the home screen of my app. You can click down here. It says create. So you can click that and you can create either a new task or a reminder. So if I click reminder, I can just create a one-off reminder for
Okay.
myself. So if I'm like check on funnel,
Okay.
that will automatically pop up for today as a quote unquote reminder for me.
Okay. So ClickUp. What else?
So that's great for project management. And then I also love using Airtable. So Airtable, they call themselves a project management tool. They're not.
It's a
basically
database, right?
Google-
It's like a database, right? ClickUp
Yeah. So
Airtable.
it's basically like Google Sheets on steroids. You can't even really connect the two together. But if you're thinking of collecting information in some way, like either in a spreadsheet view or a visual view, Airtable is the place. So for example, we do a lot of launches. So I do a lot of bundle launches, which is like a collection of resources. We have over 50 contributors coming together. So when I do those, I need a place to keep all of the information organized and all of the data in one place. So we use Airtable for that. And it also has really great automations built in as well. And then another really great tool is Zapier. So that allows you to basically connect any apps together that aren't natively connected. So before, when I was using all of these different tools, I was using Zapier to connect them all together. And that's when I was saying, like, sometimes they would break and I wouldn't know where they were breaking. So then I would have to dive into Zapier.
Zapier is great.
It is. It really is. It's great. And I still use that for some things. But I mean, the majority of our automations in the suite, they all work together, but I still use it for a couple of things just because I love using it.
Okay. What else? What other tools?
So for our podcast, we host all of our episodes live in front of our members. So we use StreamYard for that to stream that into our community. And whenever I do launches, I also like to do live interviews with the collaborators. So we'll stream those to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's basically one place that allows you to record and then you can stream it to multiple platforms, which
Cool.
again is just saving so much time.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about switching to StreamYard for the podcast because I know it has a little bit better quality on some of the like audio features and some other tools that Zoom doesn't have. That whole idea of like how many tools is too many tools, and I like try like, yeah, this is cool, but I use Zoom for so many other things, so maybe I'm just gonna stick with Zoom. It's because I definitely I used to get into that like, ooh, new shiny tool syndrome. And so I've been very sort of like, okay, this is working well enough. I'm not looking for another tool, So
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about shiny objects with tools all day. I have a whole graveyard of shiny object tools that I've signed up for that I've never used just because it looked fun to play with. So yeah, but I mean, the reason that I use StreamYard instead of Zoom is because I literally stream it. Right.
Okay.
And that's not something that Zoom allows. So again, that's just going back to your strategy to say, like, what am I doing?
I
Do I
think with
actually
Zoom,
need this? Is this going to help?
I think with Zoom you could stream to one source, but I don't think you can do multiple sources in streaming.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not great for that.
All right. What else would you like to share as I think we're going to bring this one to a close here pretty soon. We're trying to keep this a little shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say my biggest recommendation for anybody wanting to start a business, or if you've been in business for a while, is be okay with it being simple and be okay with not overthinking, because that's, like I said before, a big thing that I see people doing is just overthinking and overcomplicating to try to get to that imaginary goalpost even sooner. But truly, and this is again going to sound cheesy, but it's really about the journey, because that imaginary end goal that you have in your mind, the 6-figure year, the $1 million business, once you get there, guess what? It's just going to be pushed back even further.
Yeah.
So really, one, simplifying your business, and two, really staying focused on enjoying the journey, because as entrepreneurs, it's really hard. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying it, I mean, there's no benefit to even doing it, frankly.
Your website is The Blake Collective. It's BLAKE collective.com. Thank you so much. Is there anywhere else people can find information about you, or is your website the best sort of starting point?
Yeah, the website is the best place. And then Instagram is the main place that I hang out. So my handle is the same, The Blake Collective, over there.
Stephanie, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great.
Of course. Thanks. Even if you're not technically running a business, if you're an adult with ADHD, you're kind of already an entrepreneur, because being the CEO of your own life takes just as much experimenting, simplifying, and making hard decisions. You're building systems, managing energy, dealing with unexpected fires, and constantly having to pivot when things break or when your brain shifts gears without warning. Whether you're building a business or trying to build a life that works for you, the takeaway is the same. You don't have to do it alone. Simplify what you can, automate what makes sense, let go of what's no longer serving you, and surround yourself with support wherever possible. If you want to learn more about the coaching and accountability groups and our adult study hall community, go to ADHDrewired.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, you're not just managing ADHD. You're leading a life, so lead it your way. Until next time.